What's up, guys? Bent Over the Barrel Podcast, Lone Wolf here. We're going to recommend books on some of our episodes. This is one I want to recommend to all of our listeners. A Land Unknown, Hell's Dominion by B.W. Melvin. Outstanding book everyone should read. I'm going to read you the very last page in this book as an inspiration because I find it very, very interesting. It says, I describe what I saw. An event such as this is hard to forget. The central purpose I had for writing this book is for the reader to know the person who wore the white robe and the blue sash. He suffered great trauma. I remember well how his upper arms, hands, and feet appeared. Those bones were pulled from their joints by a great weight. That weight was from all of our pouring upon him. Our disbeliefs, doubts, sorrows, sufferings, and malice all twisted and tugged heavily. His bones were wrenched from their joints because of us. That ugliness we make from our lives yanked and tore at him. Our hate and anger at God was a great burden to bear. Psalm 22 describes it well. A person on a cross with all his bones out of joint, that is what I remember most about him. When he rescued me from the miry clay of that pit, his arms carried me. I deserved it not. His hands and wrist exposed the trauma well. The bones were not in joint, but were slightly spread apart as he carried me. I still weep at the thought and memory of seeing this so clear. My, how I added to the weight he bore. Bones out of joint, and I knew it not until he was carrying me. I wept. Will you? This story may be difficult to believe, but please reflect upon the great weights you yourself have placed upon God. The weight of doubt, loads of scorn, burden of anger, when harm was befallen you, or the heaviness of making life ugly to those about you. Know this, Ecclesiastes 3:11 says that God placed eternity in your heart the day you were born. Will you let him place salvation in your heart now and seal the deal? Folks, we want you to go online and order this book. We highly recommend it. I'll tell you a little bit about the book and we'll end this little segment. But on the back of the book, it tells, hell is real or a product of myth. Are the accounts from people who claim to have seen it during near-death occurrence genuine or mere imaginings? The near-death experience is in fact fiction or is it fable? In A Land Unknown, Hell's Dominion, the author gives a vivid account of seeing what lies beyond the grave from a perspective of a near-death survivor's journey to hell. The concept of hell raises many questions about its relevancy in today's busy modern world. Questions abound concerning God, his fairness, his justice, his very existence, and why evil exists. A Land Unknown explores these questions and more from someone who had seen hell personally. This astonishing true story of an incredible journey to hell and back will surely leave a positive evangelical impact on the reader. So folks, again, B.W. Melvin, A Land Unknown, Hell's Dominion. Get yours now. See you guys.
Hey everybody, this is Keith on this show known as Chief. Let you guys know we have a new hotline. You can call or text us. It's area code 317-674-3216. Call us anytime, text us anytime while we're on air during the podcast. We'll get your text. We'll answer your phone call. You can give us questions. Just call in and say hi, whatever you want to do. Also, you can get a hold of us on an email at bentoverthebarrelpodcast@gmail.com. We also want to give a shout out to Mayano. You can use code GETBENT, one word, for 10% discount on anything for your podcast or video needs worldwide.
Guest is a husband, a son, a brother. He was a DJ for many years in Indianapolis. Welcome to the show, DJ A-Jax, Andrew Colter.
What's up, guys?
Welcome to the show, Andrew.
Yeah, welcome.
we're glad you came by. And we want to talk about, I guess to get started, we'll just talk about where you're from and tell people where you're from and where you went to school, and we'll start with that.
I was born and raised in Indianapolis, went to Grassy Creek Elementary, Warren Township, and on the east side of Indy. Ended up moving away to Colorado Springs, Colorado in 1981, 1982. My dad was short on work, and he was a carpenter and owned his own business and things like that. So moving forward, I was born and raised in Indianapolis, and just that kind of...
Yeah, you went to Warren Central?
Yeah. I came back in 1987 when IU won the national championship.
Oh, man.
And
that is awesome. So you remember those days? Were you a big IU fan back then?
I was an IU fan. Yeah.
Okay. Bobby Knight.
Bobby Knight.
Bobby Knight. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well, you also had a stint where you went to Oklahoma. Is that correct?
Yeah. My parents got divorced in 1983, and pretty much after that, my mom remarried a guy in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So we moved out to Tulsa, Oklahoma. I got to choose who I wanted to stay and live with, my mom or my dad. So I chose my mom because she's more lenient on the rules. And
always mom being lenient.
Yeah, you were real close with your mom and dad, and that is really awesome. And we're going to get into some things, as you know, on with the podcast. We'll talk about some things that were near and dear to your heart when it came to them, and how you dealt with their passing and transitioning into the spirit world, and we'll talk a little more about that. But first and foremost, I know a little bit about you, but what I want you to talk about is your time that you spent out in Orlando at Disney.
Yeah, I moved down to Orlando in 1997. My best friend Chris moved down there, and his mom, his dad, and everybody moved down to Orlando. So I would go down there for spring break. Me and my friend Chris, and we would go down there for spring break. And then, I had, my DJing.
Yeah, which we'll talk about. Definitely we'll get into some of that. So you're down in Orlando, Florida, and now do you immediately get assigned to a certain section in that Disneyland, meaning a job, or do you have to do you transition into that job, or did you just go there specifically to work for Disney, or how did that work?
I went down there because I was DJing, and my DJing took off a little bit down in Orlando, and they call it Orlando Breaks.
Oh, wow.
It's a lot of breaks, and it's where it generated from electro house and electro and stuff like that. So anyways, how I moved into Disney was I applied for Disney World, and so I was able to get on in Tomorrowland Attractions. Tomorrowland Attractions, and I worked at Speedway where the kids can drive the cars. And I thought, man, here I work, millions of people all around the world, coming to see, this. And so at Disney, they have Gay Day. And so there was a man that flirted with me because I had a red tie on. So I had to grab one of my coworkers and my coworkers and act like, she's my, girlfriend. So
I love it. We definitely like stories like that for sure. So everything worked out there. And how long were you in Orlando working for Disney?
I worked there from 97 to 2002.
Okay, all right.
That's
Man. And then when you came back to Indianapolis, and I guess you can talk a little bit about your love for hip hop. When did that start?
I mean, he went to Warren.
Yeah. What year do you remember earliest about picking up on the hip hop music and the scene of hip hop?
This is good conversation.
Yeah, heck yeah.
First of all, I want to thank hip hop. I love every artist in hip hop, rap, all the way to current. Everybody that's in the industry. First off, I learned about hip hop when I was growing up. When 1985, 86.
Okay.
When I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I learned about cable TV.
Oh.
That's where MTV came.
Yep.
MTV had Yo Raps, Headbangers Ball, you name it. It had the metal, the hair bands.
Sure.
You had all that. And so then you had the Run DMC, Beastie Boys, LL Cool J, all the way through. So I would watch these videos and learn about music.
Mm-hmm.
Start learning about music.
Yeah.
Phil Collins,
Sure.
all kinds of 80s bands like
Awesome.
Harry, Huey Lewis and the News, all that,
Sure.
all
Which transitioned to for a love of just music in general. I mean, because I know in talking with you, it's not just strictly hip hop. You've got a vast knowledge on all music, which I think is great. And if you're going to be a DJ, that's definitely something you want to have a vast knowledge on. And for myself and Keith here, we are big country music fans, as you know, and that 80s and 90s era of country music is what we love. And it was really good stuff back then. And quite a bit's changed over the years. And
Sure.
Speaking of, we just had a passing of Toby Keith. Rest in peace. We want to make sure we
The big dog.
Yeah, the big dog himself.
Red Cup.
Yes, yes. And what a lot of people don't know about myself is I actually went to elementary school where Toby Keith went to elementary school, and was actually born in the same hospital as Toby Keith. So when you go down there now in Moore, Oklahoma, it says home of Toby Keith on the water tower, and it's really, really cool. But we definitely want to throw that shout out in there. We hate to see him move on, but so your love for hip hop and music in general turned into an artistry avenue that you chose to take. Now, you were a DJ, if I remember right, at the Vogue. Is that correct?
Yeah,
man.
I spun with Marcus, DJ Marcus, and he's married and has kids and stuff like that. So he was a really good guy, to DJ with, and
yes.
There's so many DJs. Shout out to all the DJs out there, wedding DJs, club DJs, radio DJs, radio on-air personalities. I really love everybody, and another thing to add to hip hop is I'll go to the roller skating rink.
Oh yeah, all about
Roller Cave. Roller Cave was the spot on the east side of Indy.
Wow.
And I would go there all night skate, everything. And that's where I would learn more about music and hip hop.
Okay.
And they would play it at the skating rink. So then I would convert that into my DJing, and these are the songs that I would play.
Oh.
So then it would correlate to coming off the radio, because back in the day, radio was real big.
Sure.
People would call in and request.
It's so much different now. For sure.
It's definitely different.
Yeah. And so I do remember when they would call in, and you could actually hear the caller call in. Speaking of, we do have a hotline now for Bent Over the Barrel, so
Yes.
we can actually have people call in and leave voicemails, texts, and words of encouragement or stories, funny things, whatever. But I remember those days. They'd call in and request a song. You actually get to hear them speak. You remember those days?
And I think you and I have the best generation because we got to still have the old school where people called in and requested a song. They got to talk to the DJ, the radio personality, and then the song played, and then we could see and hear everything transition to. They had a playlist that they played, and then there was a few songs that got called in, and now it's just, straight playlist. Everything's it's all streamlined.
Like there's nobody even there working at
times, the only time you hear a voice is before a break, or if you listen to talk radio.
It's
now,
like Patrick Swayze and Ghost up in
there,
working the
invisible man up in
there. Radio sure has changed, that's for sure. And so you DJ at the Vogue, man.
That's impressive. Just by itself on a resume, just at the Vogue. Seriously.
Yeah.
What are some of your memories that you might have? Does anything stick out, or a memorable time that comes to your mind during your time there that you enjoyed or that you remember?
It's the spotlight.
Yeah.
It is the spotlight. It's like you're on a scaffold, and they put me on a scaffold.
Wow.
And you'd be looking over the heads of 1,100 people.
Man.
That packed the Vogue, and it was front to back because they had a bar in the very beginning of when you walk in the front of the Vogue.
Yeah.
And then they had dancers and pyrotechniques that went off, and it was just that moment, and I got a fresh press vinyl piece of "Drop It Like It's Hot" Snoop Dogg,
really,
and then "Go DJ" by Lil Wayne. I played those for the club that night, and the place was just the floor was packed.
I got erupted.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
I remember when those songs came out, so it was a popular thing, and for you to play it that night, that's pretty impressive. I bet that place went absolutely batshit.
Oh man,
But I also played in Midtown Grill before it became the lounge.
That's the one. Okay, I remember you talking about. I couldn't remember the name of the place. Awesome, man. That is great. Well, we kind of started talking about it downstairs, but now enters into some of the things that you've as a going on 50-year-old man have encountered when it comes to family, when it comes to loss of a loved one. And again, here at Bent Over the Barrel podcast, we're about helping others that are also entering into that time of their life. You recently lost your dad last year in 2023, which we'll talk about. And then you and Keith have something in common, and your mother had lupus and was diagnosed early on. And so you've seen a complete transition of her from diagnosis to death. And so Keith, himself, will talk with you about it here in this part of the podcast, but he's entering into that time of life where it's a lot of unknowns, a lot of uncertainties. And so why don't we talk a little bit about your earliest recollections of her being told she had a disease like lupus, and how those years moving forward into your adulthood, how that all transitioned.
The lupus started when I was in high school at Warren Central in 1991, around 1991. And she started getting these spots around her ankles. And she was like, I don't know what this is. I need to go get checked out. And so then her body started to hurt a little bit, and so then she was diagnosed with lupus. So then I wasn't sure really what lupus was, and
I'm not sure that, not to interrupt you here, but in 1991, it was probably something that was just being found out about. I would imagine today it's a lot easier to catch it and know a little more about it. I would imagine in 1991, as you know, HIV and AIDS back then was something new. And so, they didn't have a lot of information in regards to that like they do today. So I would imagine that was new for a lot of people to be told that they had such a thing. There wasn't, you couldn't go online on the interweb and find out about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you can today. So,
Yes.
So she was went and had a checkup done, I'm sure, on that, and then
Yes.
that's when
the hospital.
Oh, okay, at the hospital.
At Community East.
Okay. Yeah, and while we're at that stage of the game, Keith can tell about his similar situation when it comes to his own mother. He was 14, I do believe, when he was told that she had lupus.
Yeah, I was in 8th grade, and she started having spots. It wasn't her ankles, it was on her shoulder area and her neck. And it was painful. Body hurt all the time. And hers was worse if she was outside in the sunlight. So when she went and had tests done, they determined that she had internal and external, both. So to this day, I mean, she can't go outside for long periods of time in the sun. Even if she's out there, she wears like cotton long sleeve lightweight shirts. Mm-hmm. The dry fit actually makes it feel worse to her. So she doesn't wear and I tried for years to get her to wear the dry fit stuff because it was cooler, breathable more, but just didn't work out. And I remember as a kid that I went from having a mom that was energetic, worked 5 days a week, and more than likely worked double time with us as kids on the weekends, and to where she was just in pain all the time. And, fast forward now, I'm 37, so we've had it, in the ballpark here, 23, 24 years. And, we've, Jeremiah and I have known each other for...
Since 93.
Since 93, man. Been a long time.
It's a long time.
So 31 years. So, for most of our lives that we've known each other, she's had it.
Yeah.
And she's at that point now where, like, everything's deteriorating. So we're in the like Jeremiah said, the land of the unknown. And it's not just affecting her being outside or being in pain. It's affecting her entire body. Things are, it's wearing out faster. So it's good that we get to have somebody here that, that's went through this.
Yeah, because you don't find
people. And it's like I was telling him, my entire adult life so far, you're the only person I've come in contact with and had a conversation that's had a parent that had lupus.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when mom and dad had shingles. Nobody ever had it. Well, now we see commercials for it 24/7.
Yeah.
But we still don't see commercials for lupus. I still don't think that they know fully how you get it. How, I know that there's medication and stuff they give them to help treat it. But to me, it seems like it's a 50-50 gamble if it's working or not. I mean, it may prolong the effects,
right?
But I don't see us ever coming to a point where we can go, we can cure it.
If you could tell the viewers anything, what's the best way that you did personally in your own life? How did you process that information? Was it at the time because of you being a younger man? Did it just not register or what it was until you got later into the progression of it with her? Or
well, I kind of knew when she went to the hospital,
Sure.
like when she got diagnosed for lupus.
Yeah.
I was like, I knew it was a major disease.
Okay,
I knew
Sure.
it was a major disease. And I was like, is this like cancer? Is this a brother or sister of cancer? Is this,
Sure.
So it's a lot different than cancer, but the thing is, like, my mom couldn't be outside in the sun long either,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of thing. And just like Keith said, it's one of those things where over time, after years of having lupus, my mom went into the nursing home because she was so weak in her ability to get around.
Okay, yeah.
And then, at that point, my stepdad, we decided to put her in a nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
So when she was in her nursing home, the nurses were having a hard time getting her in a wheelchair at the end of the stage.
Sure.
And at that point, 6 years ago, my mother passed away December 1st, and about 6 years ago.
Yeah, because I remember you would go and take dinner and visit with her a lot. When I first met you years back, she was still fairly normal, just had transitioned into that nursing home stage. And I remember, and man, it'll stick with me, but you always would go down during holidays or whenever the time was right, and spend time as much. And that's what's cool about it, is you spend as much time as you possibly could with her, right, knowing that, hey, time is limited, and it is for all of us. And so for our listeners out there, there is a way for you to deal with situations like Andrew and like Keith are in. If a family member has lupus or a debilitating disease like that, you can process it and just know how to make the best of it with the time you have. And I can say for Andrew, he spent as much time as he possibly could in order for it to maximize the experience. And it's a life experience, so
no, sorry,
you're fine.
To go back, I was just a little younger when my mom got diagnosed, so I didn't. My dad is the toughest man I know. I mean, he pretty much raised me to show no emotions. I think I've seen that man cry a couple times in my life, and that's it. But I could tell that once my mom got diagnosed, when they sat my sister and I down and talked to us, mm-hmm, I could see the worry in my dad's eyes. I couldn't grasp how bad it was at the time, because still at that point, when I'm in 8th grade, and we still couldn't just
right,
hop on Google and
right,
pull up some research on
sure,
what we were looking at. So it took me a few years, and then once I got to the point where outside sports and stuff she was limited to, then I could really start grasping that something was wrong with my mom. And it is tough, because now I've got kids of my own, and there's times where she's just too tired to have kids over, grandkids over at the house. Mm-hmm. So, and I try to think in her eyes how she feels about it. Because mm-hmm, they're her grandkids, and of course I can go over there, but I go over to help her dad, so it's not just me.
Sure.
So yeah, I was thankful when you said that you were in high school and you could actually kind of grasp how bad it was then. I just wish that I could have grasped onto the outlook and outcome of it sooner,
right,
than I did, because we were kids once. We all took things for granted. Mom or dad going to be here forever,
right.
And we're getting to the age now where our parents are. We used to look at your dad as Superman, Jeremiah,
yeah,
and he's going down to part-time now, so
yeah,
it's time to slow down.
Yeah, getting in the days where you just have hobbies, and you probably remember your dad going from construction worker to basically retired and trying to enjoy some of the end years of his days. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. I know you were close with both parents, and then we'll kind of talk about your dad passed away last year. But I want to start, before we get to that aspect of it, how you met your wife, Mary Lou, who is with us today in studio, guys, and we appreciate her coming. But tell us the story, long story, short story, however you want to do it, of meeting Mary Lou and then going over to the Philippines and so let's tell our listeners about how that all happened for you.
2013, basically, was on Facebook one day and I get a message from, a woman, and I was like, "How do I know you?" Because I'm DJing at that point, right. And I was thinking, I met it. Maybe it was the club.
Sure.
Hitting him up a few years later.
So, 2013, we struck a conversation, and just everything just took off from there. And then she's like, a couple months later, was going to be her birthday, and she invited me to come to the Philippines for her birthday. So in my gut, in my heart, I felt God was telling me, this is the right woman for you.
Sure. Had that been something you were trying to hear from the Spirit of the Lord, like speak into your life, or was you just going with the flow? And if someone comes along, great. How were you in that time of your life?
I was just caught off guard.
Okay. And
basically just went into just feeling God's, touch on me. All of a sudden, like, wow, it just, when you get a text from somebody, you think it's spam.
Sure.
Oh yeah, I mean back then, because that was like the big thing.
Yeah.
We had it on MySpace, stuff like that. So I mean, I was going to ask you, were you kind of hesitant to begin with? Like,
sure,
is this because going to the Philippines is it was scary.
Yeah, what was that flight like? I mean, was it a long flight? I mean, obviously
24 hours.
Oh, on a plane, dude. Now hold on.
Going from here to Chicago to Seoul, Korea.
Wow.
Or Tokyo, Japan.
Okay.
Tokyo, Japan, and flying to Guam and flying to Manila, Philippines.
Wow.
Here I am, all solo.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody around. Nobody knows Andrew. Nothing. Nothing. I'm flying into the Philippines with all these Filipinos and going through customs, and they're like, "Well, how long are you going to stay, and where are you staying at?"
I don't know how long I'm going to be here.
So then I'm going through customs, and I wrote down I think her mom's address and stuff. So we were going to we stayed at a hotel, and actually it was a nice hotel. Okay. It's no longer in business, but it was a real nice hotel. I stayed there a month. I was unemployed, collecting unemployment, long distance, making up things that I was looking for a job, living off the government.
Sure.
But it's one of those things where I took that big step, and trusting God in this whole situation. And then when I went to the Philippines, I decided to take an engagement ring. And I went to get an engagement ring at Castleton Mall.
Okay.
And it was not K Jewelers, but it was a different jeweler. And so I went to get the engagement ring. And then I went to JCPenney to get like a shirt that she could wear on the beach or just wear. So then what I did was we had her birthday.
Okay.
Well, the birthday gift that I got at JCPenney was the disguised gift.
Okay.
To disguise that I'm gonna ask her to marry me. So then turn around was, so what I did was, told her family,
Mm-hmm.
and her family invited more people.
Oh,
So
man.
Man, now it's turned into a small shindig to a big shindig.
Were there a lot of people during that?
Oh yeah.
A lot of people showed up.
That is cool.
Kids held up "Will you marry me" at the table when we said we said a prayer before dinner,
Mm-hmm.
and so there were so many people and gathered around, and what happened was I put her sister said put the ring in the cake.
Oh, okay.
So
You're like trying to dive it into the cake.
Put the ring in the cake.
Sure.
Have her cut out a piece of cake, and so she's digging through there. And,
Sure.
And so she finds the ring, and then I put it on her finger, and I said, "Will you marry me?" And I got on my bended knee and said,
wow.
"I want to be yours forever," and
Absolutely.
that sort of thing. So, that's
Sure.
so I'm there a month, and we go out and get all these party supplies with her, with us.
Okay.
And I couldn't keep from crying.
Sure.
I'm sitting here in the Philippines. Nobody that I barely, I just met her family.
Sure.
So her family sat me down and interviewed me, make sure I'm going to take good care of, Mary
Oh,
Lou.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Like I've shared with you, it's really something you're seeing more of on YouTube even. You can go on YouTube. A lot of American men are going to the Philippines and meeting young ladies in the Philippines, and they are getting in relationships with them. And in this case, Mary Lou, it all worked out. That has to be an outside force to, bring that all together. It's an amazing thing for you. Now let's talk about how it took 10 years. Right about 10 years, wasn't it, before everything came together and she was able to come stay with you?
It took about 7.
Oh, 7. Okay.
7 years.
Okay.
7 years. We started in probably 2015.
Okay.
Because I had lost a couple jobs and
Sure.
in between that, and they want to know your income level to support her. Because they don't want her flying in, landing, and just collecting unemployment,
right?
Or something like that, living off the government.
Sure.
So we went through a lot of paperwork continuously with the U.S. Embassy and the consulate, and a lot of detail. They want to know who me and Mary Lou are.
Sure.
Because
I understand.
When Mary Lou was in Macau, China for a while, and moved there to make more money, and she was residing in Macau, China at the time when we were communicating back and forth daily on video and
sure,
all that.
Yeah, I remember this, such a process, and there were times where you got frustrated and just kind of sad and down and out, but you made it through all of that. That was the hardest part, from what I can see from an outsider. Just the waiting period, that time from 2015 in this case. I thought it was a little longer than that, so I apologize. But just the waiting process. But you made it. You endured till the end. And
so during that 5 years, how many trips did you have back this year? Did you leave the U.S.?
Just 2013.
That's it.
That was it.
Wow.
Because I was thinking, why take a couple $1,000s when that could be her plane ticket to here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If you go out to the Philippines, you're spending about $3,000 to $4,000, maybe $5,000 if you're staying there about a month. It's expensive because you got to pay for your plane ticket, hotel, and all those things.
Wow.
So when you're traveling overseas, it can get pretty expensive.
Yeah, and it's just getting higher and higher.
Yeah.
You know, we joke about Little Rocket Man and all this crap he's pulling.
Oh my gosh, man.
Rocket Man.
Yeah, man. So we've had some good laughs.
Tell them who Rocket Man is.
Yeah, they all know who Little Rocket Man is. And Little Rocket Man's trying to pull his tricks again, but it ain't gonna last. I can promise you that. It's hard to.
I can only imagine who Little Rocket Man is.
You already know.
I already know.
It's Kim Jong-un.
Oh yeah.
And
I don't know about little, but I mean,
yeah.
boy's about as wide as a Chevy.
So Mary Lou makes it to Indianapolis. I remember you getting ready for her arrival, and so many things you thought about doing, and ideas flowing, and you was able to pick her up, get her moved in, and so far so good. She's working, doing good, and
congrats to both of you for that 5 year span and everything surviving.
Did you, if I remember right, didn't you hit a 10-year anniversary? Has that already came? When was that? And let's talk a little bit about that, what you did for your 10-year anniversary. And
well, I took her to for our 10-year. I took her to Maggiano's.
Awesome.
Oh
yeah,
great place.
Yeah,
Maggiano's.
Love Maggiano's.
Yeah,
and
good food.
Pretty much that's what I did, and it wasn't something I want to take her and travel the U.S. a little bit. Like go to the Grand Canyon and take her to Colorado and
lots
see,
of things to see. Yes, beautiful places.
Beautiful places.
You know, all of
definitely out west.
Yeah,
I mean, Gulf Shores, Alabama. I mean, you got so many. The Carolinas. Yeah. I mean, it's but out west. That's my favorite. I mean,
I think
you got the Grand Canyon. You've got
the Four Corners. You can stand on the Four Corners.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. Yeah. Okay, so you've been there. So I have too when I was a kid. But that would be outstanding. So she gets here. We started talking about it downstairs before we came up here on set, and so she's able to meet your dad. Now your dad retired, was in construction, worked for himself, retired, lived out some years doing what he enjoyed doing. Was a big family man. I can tell you that. I never did get to meet him myself, but I can tell you Andrew gets his love for family and friends from his mom and dad, and so he's able to meet Mary Lou. And so let's pick up where we left off downstairs. So Mary Lou moves to Indianapolis and lives with you, and then she's able to meet him, and so we'll transition back into your dad passing on, and I know you're still processing that because it's only been a year, and it takes some time, but. Let's start from the point where Mary Lou's able to meet him, and from that point on.
February 5th is my dad's birthday, and we had a birthday celebration for his 80th birthday.
80th birthday.
And so we go there, and we are celebrating not only my dad's birthday, but now we're celebrating Mary Lou being here.
Yes.
So there's a combination of both in this picture.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we sit down and we have cupcakes and all kinds of food and things like that. What ends up happening is my brother got to come and join us, and my half brother, and he was able to come and join us, and so the family. I want to thank my family anyway for all the gifts that they got, the pots and pans, and all the things to cook and bake with, and
dude, I'm telling you, when you're married, that's the best present.
Stuff
for the house,
all
man.
Time. I know.
Oh man,
Andrew would always have pictures of some really good looking food being cooked up. So she's a cook, and which is good because his way of cooking's TV dinner.
TV dinner, baby. That's every bachelor.
But I think that's a blessing in itself for him, not only health wise, but being able to experience another culture's food. I think it is really. Cool as well. She likes fish, I know you don't, but I myself, he's never been a seafood guy.
I had an accident when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I threw up the fish, and ever since then, I won't touch lobster. I won't touch any seafood.
What about regular fish, like freshwater fish? No, not even that.
I won't even eat fish sticks.
Really? Now, see, my wife changed it. She was young, like 8, 9, 10, and the canoe she was in capsized over.
Oh.
And she had a life jacket on, and she was freaking out because she couldn't get out from underneath it. And fish were touching her feet. So now she won't swim in a lake. She won't, and she won't go on the boat. She's terrified.
No kidding. I didn't know that.
But me, he knows. Fishing's.
Why don't you tell him about our? And we will definitely get back into that. But Keith has an interesting story. When we were kids, we went to conservation camp down in Vincennes, Indiana, and man.
So we were 13.
Yes, we were 13.
And this was a 3-week program. In the state of Indiana, if you were born after 1985, you had to have a hunter's education course to be able to hunt and fish, to get a license. And those are 2 national holidays in my house when I was growing up, and they still are now. So my parents and his parents coerce, and they get us into this program. And to us, it seemed like a 5-day trip down to southern Indiana. And they basically dropped us off in this camp with counselors and then left. We've got 2 big suitcases because we're going to be gone for 3 weeks. And we're just like, what the fuck is this? But, man, I'll tell you what, there was a lot of classroom work to begin with. But then we got to, we were boating. They took us on jet skis with DNR officers, and they purposely threw us off of them so we would learn what to do and not panic. They're going full throttle, boy, and just going straight. And all of a sudden, they just crank it. And then we're back there going, weave, gone. Left field, gone.
Yeah.
We shot archery. We shot clay pigeons in the air. We shot rabbit pigeons.
Antique firearms.
We shot antique muzzleloaders. We shot 22s. It was a blast. Now, him growing up with me, we shot those things already.
Mm-hmm.
But the coolest thing in the world, and we didn't know who it was to begin with until we got older. And I'm pretty sure I found out before he did because I still followed the bass fishing scene more than he did. But we've got a picture of him and I on a boat with Kevin Van Dam. Yeah. And I'm like, as an adult now, I'm like, this was the coolest thing in the world. Because to me, it's like, 5-time Mr. Angler. Bassmaster Classic Championship.
This would have been, at the time, he would have just been getting into the
major
leagues of fishing. So we got on this boat. Now, he and I know enough about mechanics at this point. We're 13 years old. When you see 2 V8 engines on the back of a bass boat.
This thing had the 250s in the back of it, so it had 500. Something
serious is about to happen. So we didn't know what to expect. We're sitting in the boat thinking we're going out.
Hold on. It had seat belts. It had lap belts. And he's like, you need to put the lap belts on. I'm like, man, I've been in a boat before. Are you serious? But he made us turn them on. He's just, putting along in the wake. And as soon as he gets out of that no wake zone, he full throttles it, and that boat stands up. And I'm looking up at the sky like this. I'm like,
and then
I'm flipping out. And it comes back down, and we look down, and that son of a bitch is scooting across the water at 70 miles an hour. At 13 years old, and you're like, dude, this ain't right. If I called my dad right now, he'd be flipping out.
Have you ever been fast on a boat on water? that you can
not
remember?
real
Okay,
fast.
so
Okay, this was
70 on a boat, I would compare it to me and you when I was driving the GTO doing 160 on your mom and dad's road.
which
I mean, it just, because when it glides across there, just the slightest movement makes that boat move. I mean, you've got to be, it's just like on a drag race. The slightest tilt
And you
of those
feel every
wheels.
bit of it.
And you feel every bit of it. When you hit a bump, it's like no shocks on a truck.
Wow.
I mean, it was, but it was the coolest thing.
Mhm.
And they don't do it no more. My son, who just turned 13 last year, they don't have those camps anymore. They do a one-day thing. I mean, I made a weekend out of it. You know, use my advantages of working from Marriott, and made a weekend out of it with him. But they don't. I mean, I wish they did, because I definitely put my kid in it. It was a blast. But yeah, that was. It was a memorable thing that I won't forget, because as we've gotten older, we get to do less and less things together between
Sure.
jobs and family.
And that was part of the reason why we put this podcast together.
It gets him and I back together, and then we get to meet people, because there's people I know that he doesn't know. There's people that he knows that I don't know. So it's great to meet people, and like we were talking the other night, Theo Vaughn and Joe Rogan, they interview famous people. And once you've heard Jelly Roll's story on Theo Vaughn's podcast, it's going to be the same thing on Joe Rogan's, just a different setting.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that we get to interview people that,
well,
real life, I mean, normal, everyday Americans.
Yeah.
So,
and you're a prime example of someone that's overcame so much in their life, processed it, grieved, went through the process, overcame it, came out on the other side stronger. And I think it's important that these people get to hear how you process the passing of your dad. Now we'll go back to, like you said, last year, he was diagnosed with cancer. So we'll have you tell your story as it goes with him being diagnosed with cancer and the processing of him into the spirit realm. I know that Mary Lou and yourself are believers in Christ Jesus, which we are so thankful for. And I'm glad you were able to meet a partner that has that faith, because it is very important that when you're yoked together, that you both have like-minded mentality in the faith department. So I'm a big believer in things you can't see and hope for the future. But I'm glad you were able to wind up with Mary Lou, who is got a strong foundation in Christ. So I think that if I'm telling the story correctly, that helped you process the passing of your dad a little bit, because you had faith that, hey, where he moved on to outside of this shell is a lot more glorious than right here in Indianapolis. So let's have you talk a little bit about that, him being diagnosed, and from there on out.
They found cancer, and they're about to do surgery, and they went into about to do surgery, and they found more cancer. And after that, it started spreading through his body, and basically at that point, he started slowing down a little bit. His appetite went a little bit south, and as the cancer moved, he was not feeling real well. Always wanting to, just rest and sleep, and then as it got closer, the downhill spiral of my dad, he went through, that weakness scenario, and then the nurses came into play, and then I get a call, and my dad entered the hospice. He knew he was going to die.
Okay.
So, my dad was real smart, good with numbers,
yes,
good with money.
You have to be to own your own business like that.
Sure.
And not only your own business, but construction business.
Sure.
My father's in that market. Keith has worked with him over the years in construction. I'm in the car side of things. I'm not a construction guy. I understand it. I can, make heads or tails out of it, especially with Keith being able to partner up with me, and we can get some stuff done. But he would have to be, really smart to go that long and that many years as a was he a new home builder? Is that correct?
Build homes when I was a kid, and then build room additions and decks for a living, and had his own trailer of tools, and he would go pretty much sun up to
sundown. That's your dad.
Yeah.
I mean,
and but to get the work done, that's what he would do.
Sure.
And he would he had 3 guys working for him.
Okay.
Hanging drywall, whatever.
Wow.
And it was, pretty serious.
Yeah, very physical.
Yeah.
A lot of demand.
Yeah.
So he ended up. When did he pass? Was it
April 20th
of 23? Yes. Okay. And I remember you, having that service and processing it, and you handled it quite well for somebody that was as close and relied on your dad. I know you're still in the process of really grieving over that loss, but he taught you so much, and so you're able to hang on to a lot of what he taught you, and it's saved you in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Kept you out of a pickle, and you then know when something pops up, whether it's a scam or if someone's trying to take advantage of you. Those are some of the things he passed along to you, which is great. And I hate to see him go, but it happens. Especially now, we've talked about it before, especially in America, the food is loaded down with so many chemicals, and what we're taking in on what we think is food and drink is just loaded with chemicals that are banned in 40, 50 other countries. And so the cancer rates are on the rise. Curing doesn't pay, so They can't make money by curing diseases like that. So they got to keep people sick. And the only way you do that is through the air, through the water, and through the food. And that's exactly what they're doing. But I'm proud of how you've been able to process it and stay positive as much as possible. If you could tell the listeners out there, Andrew, and we're going to have several. Our last podcast had over 500 between Spotify and between YouTube. If you could tell our listeners anything on how you processed the loss of a loved one like your mom and dad, but did it with such grace and dignity and a calm peace about it. Some people go crazy, or they don't process it as well as you have. It's been a great example for me personally to see how you process the love of a mother and a father. I was so amazed at how well, there's things I don't see. I get that, but just talking with you, even after it happened, the way you processed it and dealt with it to keep your mental state sharp was really impressive. And I'm glad to see you were able to grieve, but not let it control your life to the point where, things got off kilter. So if you could tell our listeners anything about what kept you grounded and kept you calm about yourself, what would that be?
Relationship with God, Jesus.
Yes.
Prayer, a lot of belief that my dad and my mom are looking over me every day, even though they're not here physically present. They're in the spirit realm.
Yeah.
And when they're in the spirit realm, they're still you can hear that voice.
Sure.
You can hear the voices of my dad and my mom. Good job. Keep pressing forward. Save this much money. Save this much money. Save this.
Yeah.
and how to balance it out, coaching with my dad over saving money,
Yes.
and that sort of thing. But just foundation in God, and a lot of prayer, and a lot of just staying, keep going. You have to keep going and keep moving with life. And if you believe in hustling, as in grind at your job, love your job, stay focused on getting your money, being able to pay your bills on time, and don't get caught up into overdosing on drugs, or having a lot of drinks, because of the passing of a family member or something like that, because I want people to do well, and it's really hard to lose a parent, because they're real close to you, and it's always family first. So in everybody's eyes is family first, and so when you lose a loved one, it really hurts. But at the same time, you got to realize that you have a given life by your parents, and God gives you that gift to live. So live to the abundance of the Lord helping you, and if you have a personal relationship, then you can pray, and I just want to tell everybody I love them, and love my dad, and love my mom.
Like I said, you're such a people person. You'll always attract to opposite people. I'm not such a people person, but you don't know a stranger. That was one of the first things that drawed me to Andrew, was your ability to, just like Keith here. You haven't met Keith at all. And you're always open to meeting new people, just as we are on the podcast. But your ability to learn so much out of someone that you don't know, it comes with a lot of years of being on your own and in situations you've been in. And so I've been highly impressed with your ability to not know a stranger. And I think as a follower of Christ, that's what people are called to be, not to be a stranger, to reach out to the people that nobody knows about. And that's what we're trying to do here at Bent Over the Barrel, is we're trying to have a good time and laugh, a good time and cry, and learn from other people's experiences, and try to help others. But it's so great that you have a partner that is also grounded in that faith, and that helps you a lot too with things. Because if you have some chaos, or someone that's out there on the dope and not the hope, as I would say, it makes it so much harder to deal with things in life. So it's highly impressive what you've been able to do since Mary Lou's gotten here. And so we'll enter into what are some of the things you want to see in these next several years happen now that you're married and Mary Lou's with you. I know you've talked about getting a house and kind of expanding upon your personal life. And, Keith can interject here on this too, because he's in that same, he's been married a long time, but he's entering into that phase of life where now he's working hours, lots of hours, and he's transitioning into buying a house, stepping away from the apartment scene into the home. That's where you're at as well. And so talk about what is it you would like to accomplish in the next, let's say, 5 years with Mary Lou being here now.
I would love to, I'd love to travel a little bit, with Mary Lou. I would love to buy a house, and we have an idea of a house that we've looked at, and it's just a matter of time I got an inheritance from my dad, and so that's to help, my down payment.
Sure.
The things, the house and having, a child. I would love to have a child with Mary Lou, and I would love to, take her to the Philippines to see her family. And this year, we're going to go to the Indy 500. I got tickets.
Oh, that'll be a blast.
And so I've got 2 extra tickets that a friend of mine already bought tickets. So I'm looking for 2 people to go to the Indy 500 with me and Mary Lou. And I'm thinking of asking, Jeremiah and a friend of his or something, or something like that. But other than that, within 5 years, I, hope to keep saving money, keep pressing forward to that goal of a house, get out of the apartment scene, and really be able to, turn up my music a little bit in the house.
Sure.
On the turntable.
Yeah. You still do some DJ work at home, and I've watched some of your lives.
Yeah.
Are those lives available for people to tune into that enjoy that sort of thing? Or how does that work? I'm not real familiar with it, other than I've seen a couple of them.
It's very, right now, it's very short-lived because a lot of DJs want to do that, and what they do is they get on Twitch.
Okay.
If you're doing it from Facebook or Instagram, they'll shut you down in the quickness because of copyrights.
Copyright laws.
Copyrights and all that kind of stuff gets into play.
Yeah.
And they'll flag you, but they won't penalize you with a fine or anything like that. But you have to be really careful. And but I get on there, and there's DJs that will mix like a Reba McEntire with some hip hop.
Yeah, I've been watching that guy. He does like Morgan Wallen and like an old Cypress Hill or something like that. And it just like you wouldn't think that those two would line up at all. And I'm just like,
I've heard some of the stuff that he's mixed together, and it's an art. It really is. It takes an artist to know art.
Hats off to all of you. I mean, that's.
Now, if someone had questions, that's an aspiring DJ, or they had a question about maybe some equipment that you might have knowledge on, how could someone reach out to you through email and ask for some advice when it comes to DJing? Do you have a way for them to email you?
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and let them know if they have any questions?
It's DJ A-Jax at gmail.com. You spell it out DeeJayAjax at gmail.com. You can get a hold of me, Andrew Colter, at gmail.com.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we want to wrap this up, and we do appreciate you coming, and I want Keith to mention the hotline again. We have a hotline, guys. You can call us, leave a voicemail. You can email us. We'll let him kind of tell you about that hotline and what that number is, and you can see it in the description down below. Again, we are on YouTube, and we are on Instagram, and we do have a Spotify channel. We're not hard to find. So tune in, subscribe, follow us on Instagram. Like I said, our first podcast with Michael Admire at over 500 views. This one will probably double that 500. I'm just going to speak it into existence. But we appreciate Andrew's time, and we want to thank him for coming on the show and being a part of Bent Over the Barrel. Its early successes will one day pay off, and you'll be back again. We'll have you back on now that the fan base can see who Andrew is. We'll be in a little more formal setting next time where you can just kind of talk about other things now that they can tune into this recording and learn about Andrew and a very interesting man. And I'm glad that I was able to have him cross paths with me. But Keith, go ahead and tell them about our hotline.
In the hotline, phone number is 317-674-3216. You can call or text. If you're going to call or text now,
we don't have it live right now. We just have it set up where they can leave
us a voicemail, text message. We'll on the next podcast we'll get to your question.
You can tell them too. Before we close this out, we've got a podcast set where we're going to be doing a bulk of our shows together, and folks, we're going to be calling you through that number. So again, what's that number, Keith?
317-674-3216.
We will call you from that number. When we call to go over your interview and your podcast, we'll do it. You'll be routed into our mixing board, so it'll be like you're sitting right here where Andrew's sitting, and we'll be live on set. And we will also play those voicemails, emails, and text messages and kind of talk about them amongst many other things. But we have so many guests scheduled. We have over 65 guests. Andrew's number 2. Next week, we will record Chris Ham. He is episode number 3, so stay tuned for that. But this is Andrew, DJ A-Jax Colter, and he has just been bent over the barrel. Stay tuned. See you next time.
Hey, before we leave, though, I want to add this. Jeremiah and I, we're big on friendship, you know, as kids growing up doing things stupid, funny, silly, whatever they were. So I want a short little story from you with one of your friends. It can be something that was dumb that you guys did, funny, silly, whatever. And I've got one to share about you and I.
Do you remember having a friend that you did something silly with that comes to mind that was funny or something that you did together? It don't even have to be silly. It could be a memorable memory that you have of a friend and things that you did together.
Well, I did some stupid things when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
What do you want to hear?
Whatever comes.
Whichever one comes. Whichever one sticks the most.
I used to steal car ornaments.
Oh.
And use them as keychains.
Interesting. Man, interesting.
That was back in my younger days, back in high school.
Sure.
So,
well, which one of the million you got, genius?
So, it's when your parents rented a house off of 13 in LaPel. I'd come over after school. We were, hanging out, playing around. And
that's back in the what was it? Super Nintendo.
Super Nintendos and the Sega Genesis.
Man,
we were. Your parents lived on that farmhouse, and they had a burn barrel for the trash.
Yeah.
And your mom told us to take the bag of trash out while she was talking to my mom, and we were going to go above and beyond to try to help our parents.
Mm-hmm.
So we take the bags of trash and we stick them in the 55-gallon burn barrel. Well, we tried lighting it at this point to burn it, and it wouldn't light. So we went over to the barn and we grabbed gasoline and poured some gas on it. And for some reason, it still wouldn't light. So I'm pretty sure at this now, at 37 years old, this is Jesus Christ himself going, walk away. But, we didn't. We pressed on. We grabbed some white fuel. Poured some white fuel on there. Still wouldn't light. So then we seen a big old thing of kerosene. So then we poured kerosene on there. And it went from us taking the matches and striking them and holding over the barrel. We were over the barrel.
Yeah, we got bent
over the barrel. Yeah, we got bent over the barrel because we lit it like this and that spark caught. And it went right up in our face. We had no idea what happened.
Just a giant flash.
Just giant flash. We're like, oh, cool, it's burning now. So we walk in the house like nothing happened. We go over getting something to drink, and we walk past our moms, and they're like, "What the hell happened to you two?" We're like, "What?" Nothing. We didn't do anything.
It's like,
and they're like,
Christmas. Harry Dunn, Dumb and Dumber.
Oh my God, man! They go look in the bathroom with your faces. We walk in there, man. The hair's singed off from right here. We ain't got no eyebrows, no hair, no nothing. I mean, just naked right there, boy.
So yeah, I mean that's one of many silly things as an adolescent, that we got involved with. I think that's pretty mild compared to today's kids. They're doing meth and fentanyl and snorting coke off of bathroom stall doors and whatever else they're on. These kids 10 years old out there snorting cocaine and shit.
We were hooked on
Pixie sticks.
And
they took it a step further. These kids today are.
Oh, dude.
But
I want to say something to the podcast.
Absolutely.
Go right ahead, man.
I want to thank Jeremiah and Keith for having me, and I've been bent over the barrel, and this is episode 2 with Andrew Colter, DJ A-Jax.
That is awesome. Appreciate you coming.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming.
We will see you on the next time, and we'll have you again.
Yeah, we'll have to have an update on.
We'll check in
and my wife might want to do it next.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll have to get you both in it.
She can at least be on with us.
She can be on with us. I mean, we want to do an update. I did my 15-year anniversary this year, this month, actually.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. We've had some, rough years. I am very hard to love. I mean, I'm unlike you. When I had a loved one pass, I had a lot of demons that came up, and for a while I was an alcoholic. And
sorry,
it wasn't 5 or 6 beers a night. It was half a bottle of whiskey, full bottle of Jaeger, or something like that. So it was tough for me. And to this day, I'll just go ahead. I mean, my grandmother died in 2018 on my birthday. The last thing I got to say to that woman was laying in bed with her and holding her and told her it was okay to let go. And an hour later, we left to go have lunch for my birthday, and she died when everybody left. So I took it hard because that was the last, to me, it felt like it was the last piece of glue that held everything together. My grandfather died when I was a junior. So Grandma lived a long time after Grandpa passed away. And I personally think that was because she wasn't, waiting hand and foot on him anymore. But she got to move to Florida where it was warm all the time, Sunshine State, and see dolphins whenever she wanted to. So that was, I went a different path. So, but credit to my
on drugs or anything.
No. I wasn't on
weed or anything.
No
marijuana.
No marijuana. No pain. No Vicodin. No fentanyl. No methadone. None of that. I just, to go to sleep and wash the day away. It was hit the bottle and pass out.
Let the spirits in.
Yeah, let the spirits in, and I was tough to live with. And that was, I had a time before that when, I had, got hurt, had back surgery. I was a whole different man after that because didn't feel like I was the same person. So there's been a couple of times in that 15-year span that I was really, really rough to live with and love. And that woman stayed with me. I got 4 wonderful kids.
And we'll definitely talk more about.
Yeah, so we need a pre-sequel with them.
Who you are, who I am. That'll be one of our upcoming. Before we release Chris Ham's episode, we might just sit down, test the new equipment out from Mayano. Go ahead and tell them about Mayano one more time.
Again, www.mayonos. That's MAONO.com. Use the code GETBENT. It's 1 word. You get 10% discount on whatever you buy.
All right, guys. See you next time. Thank you. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, Andrew.